Bro, what are you doing?
Dude, just hang on. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Reds Relay Podcast. I am your host, Brendan Hostler. Matt Fry is here as always, and Jake is behind our camera. We're excited to be back, talk a little Reds baseball today. I'm going to get into a ranking today. We did one back in, what was that, May, Matt Fry?
One of our first three episodes.
One of our first episodes. We're going to get into a little bit of that. We're going to talk some Rhett Lowder because he's been absolutely spectacular. We're going to do a little around the league news for you today. So a lot to cover in this episode. So we're going to kind of jump right into it. Going to start with the Reds baseball right off the bat. It's kind of been a little hard to watch just because they're pretty much out of it now. And I know Matt kind of talked about it earlier, not keeping up with the games and stuff. And I've kind of been the same way, honestly. So it's been hard to, tune in, I guess, is the best way I can say that. So, they, after having a pretty good week, last week they start with the Mets. That's where we left off last, a 3-game series in New York. They lose that series 2-1. I kind of expected that to happen, seeing two left-handed pitchers.
Yeah, I know. You said before the series that this 3-game stretch of the pitchers that they have lined up was going to be difficult.
Yeah, not a great matchup for them, and that's kind of been the MO for them this year, with the left-hand pitching. So, seeing them, Manaea, I don't remember the other lefty. Do you remember the other lefty they saw?
I
don't remember. I know Manaea was one of them. And then they saw Severino on Sunday, and they actually ended up winning that game. I don't want to get a ton into that series just because it was a little while back, and so most people have probably already seen that. And then they had a makeup game with Atlanta, which went well. Nick Martinez threw the ball very well. 7 innings of shutout baseball. He's a guy that, I'd like to see come back next year. We're going to talk a little bit about that in some future episodes. Ty France drove in their only run of the day, and the Reds won the game 1-0. I think they swept that series. They won the two.
They ended up sweeping them.
They won the two previous. I think that was it might have been in May, I think.
Yeah, that was a while ago. So they finished the sweep of them, swept the Yankees, they swept someone good. Houston, and then
Cardinals.
The story of the Reds
Not this past series, but they swept them. What was that? Oh, that was when they got back into it, and they were only a game under 500. They cap off the Braves series. They get a sweep there. So, they play good against the good teams. Nothing new. Ty France, like I said, drove in the only run. And then moving on to the Cardinals series, which I actually thought was going to be a really good series for them because with the win on, that was Monday, right? Am I crazy? Monday? What is today? Thursday? No, so it would have been Tuesday. The game on Tuesday, they won 3-0. So I kind of thought that they were going to get closer to 500. And on Tuesday with that win, they wrapped up the season series with the Cardinals. They took the automatic win for the whole year. I don't know how to explain that, but they won the season series on Monday just with that win. So they won 3-0 in game 1. Lowder was fantastic. Got his first major league win, 5 innings of shutout baseball. Lowered the ERA to 0.59. We're going to talk more about him today. I really want to take a deep dive into what I think the future holds for Rhett Lowder, what his role is going to look like next year, and a guy that he reminds me a lot of in Major League Baseball today. Pagan came in, and not that the game really mattered that much, but it was kind of annoying to see Pagan come in the game and load the bases with nobody out. He did strike out the side, which was kind of cool. A little bit of extra sweating there in the 9th inning. So he gets the save. Friedel drove in 2 with a base hit to left field. Pretty good all-around game. The pitching was great, which it has been as of recently. Actually, they had a scoreless streak. Can we find that? I don't know what the streak was. Can we look that up, Fry?
I know they had
what the inning
2
streak
straight
was.
Games.
Jake, can you find that?
It was
for
at
me
least
somewhere?
2 straight games.
What are we looking for?
It was their inning scoreless streak that they just recently had for starting pitchers. Yeah. Oh, I think you just had it. Hang on, we're gonna pull this up for you. Yeah. Nolan Arenado hit a home run in game 2 of the series. So we got 24 2/3 by Reds starters to scoreless, and that's with guys that, like we talked about a couple of days ago, the 5 guys that started the season for them in their rotation: Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Frankie Montas are not pitching right now. 4 of them on the IL. Graham's not coming back this year, and then Montas obviously was traded a few weeks ago. So they've been doing this with Brandon Williamson, Rhett Lowder, Nick Martinez, Carson Spires. Fernando Cruz was starting a couple of games.
Jake
Junis, who threw the ball really well today. So game 2, they lost 2-1. Nolan Arenado hit a solo home run that snapped that scoreless streak. Williamson was great, 5 innings, 1 run. Fernando Cruz actually looked really good. That was kind of the first time I sat down and watched him out of the bullpen in a while, and he had 4 strikeouts over an inning and 2/3, which was very encouraging to see. Santiago Espinal continues to be spectacular with an RBI single in that game to score the Reds' only run. So really not a lot of offense in this series for the Reds. I don't even think they hit a home run in this series. And then moving on to game 3, we're kind of moving through this quick because we got some stuff to talk about today. They lose 6-1 today, kind of an ugly game. Kind of just got away from them late. Not a lot of offense. Junis threw the ball really well. Out of the rotation, him starting games, he's been really good. I think he's gone at least 5 innings his last 2 or 3 starts, and he's not a guy that's been starting games, so 5 innings for him is almost feels like 9.
Yeah, his last couple spot opener starts, or whatever you call it, that David Bell likes to do, they've been really good, and everybody complains that he's getting taken out too early because he's pitching so good.
Yeah, he had a perfect game through 4, I think in
so.
his previous start, which was really good, and he could be kind of a Swiss Army knife, kind of like Nick Martinez has been. Maybe they find a way to bring him back next year. I believe he has a club option. I could be wrong on that. We're going to get into a future episode. We're going to talk a little bit more about some moves and what the offseason is going to look like for the Reds. But yeah, so kind of wanted to move on. We wanted to just give you a quick recap of, how the series, these previous series went. Not a great week for the Reds, but, they're still fighting. They're still playing to win because they're not mathematically eliminated yet. We all know they're pretty much out of it, but these guys are still fighting for money. They're fighting for jobs next year to make the club out of spring training. So these games still matter to these guys. So they're going to continue to play hard and try to play well. So after that recap, I think so. One thing we did, and Matt Fry kind of mentioned it earlier in the year. It was like I think our third video, I believe. We did a ranking the Reds roster. Now, I could wait 2 weeks to do this, but we have some other things that we're working through to do in our next couple of episodes. So I wanted to kind of get to this now before maybe some guys, get hurt and they kind of stop playing here at the end of the year. So we're actually going to re-rank the Reds roster. And now there's some new faces and some faces that are gone. Obviously, from previous ones, we don't have Frankie Montas anymore. We do not have Lucas Sims anymore. The addition of Ty France, as well as TJ Friedl was not on our other one because he had not made he's not in the club yet.
It's basically the opening day lineup pretty much versus
what we have now.
Like the last couple weeks of the year.
I think the only guy that's on there that is injured right now, well, Lodolo is injured, and so is Hunter Green, but those guys have pretty much pitched all year. Fairchild hasn't played in a while. He's still on there because he's played a big bulk of the season. Tony Santillan's a new face, Marte. So we're going to kind of go through this. And then I want you guys to let us know if there's some, how you would have done this differently. Let us know in the comments. So we're just going to kind of roll through this. So our first face that I'm staring at is Mr. Ty France, who, and keep in mind too, when we rank these guys, I might say that Ty France has been great. Now, that doesn't mean that his numbers are great, but for what his value is and what he, like his level of a player, obviously he's not as great as Ellie, but he's, for what a player he is, he's giving us his full potential, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of confusing. So for me, I don't know about you, Matt Fry, but I think Ty France has been great.
I'd agree.
So he's come onto the scene and hit the ball really well. And this whole series, I think he has almost close to 50% of their hits. He had that series against Houston where he went 9 for 11.
Yeah, he's kept us in the last couple weeks of the season
and played a great defensive first base. So I really like the way he's played. Ellie, Ellie's been elite all year. He's kind of not done a ton this last week, but for him, the stolen base number, he's going to get to 70 stolen bases. He's going to get to 25 home runs. He's still playing an above average short, even though he makes a lot of errors. So for me, Ellie is still in that elite category. Without Ellie, this team probably wins 65 games. So, he's in that elite category. And then moving on to Nick Lodolo. For me, I almost want to kind of put him in that mid category because it's just like, I don't know how you feel because he's had moments where he's been so good and moments where he's been really bad.
It looks like you're perfectly describing the not good, not horrible, to be honest.
Okay, so do you feel like not good, not horrible, or the mid? It's kind of
honestly,
weird because some of these guys don't necessarily meet these descriptions. So I guess we could go not good, not horrible. Because
he was really good to start the season. I don't know. It's kind of hard to rank him.
Yeah.
Who knows if he was hurt the last couple weeks?
Because he's been dealing with that blister all year, which has kind of been weird.
Yeah.
And then Steer to me has been solid.
I think
because I don't want to put him in great because, the last month or so, I think they were talking on 700 WLW. Lance was talking about how he hadn't homered in 19 straight games. So he's kind of been up and down, but he has been solid all year. He's been driving in runs pretty much all year. So I would say that Spencer Steer has been solid. We're going to wait for, there we go. Brent Suter. I know you're a big Brent Suter guy. I'm kind of, on the fence about him. So I'm going to let you kind of make your decision here.
I'd put him in mid probably. He's been...
Wow, really?
He's been pretty good, but he hasn't...
Really?
It's hard.
He's got that $3.5 million club option. Are you picking that up if you're Nick Kroll?
It was $3.5 million? I don't know. Honestly, probably. He did pretty good at the beginning of the season, did he not?
Yeah.
I liked him, too. He come in and throw strikes, a lefty out of the bullpen, give you a different look.
I agree. Okay, mid. I don't disagree with that. I thought maybe you were going to put him higher. I almost was... Yeah, okay. All right. Jake Fraley's an interesting one because Jake Fraley has not had his prototypical power year. I think he only has 4 home runs. It's been a weird year for Jake.
It's been a really weird year. He's been
for me, I can't put him above mid.
I can't either. He's honestly, mid is kind of...
You think that's a stretch even?
I think he goes there, but you could
argue that he's not good, not horrible. So let's go ahead and we'll put Jake Fraley in the mid category.
He's got a high average, but every single time I watch him, he doesn't.
He seems like he's getting his legs under him now. Obviously it's September and that doesn't really matter. Then Tyler Stevenson's been elite. I don't care what anybody says. He is one of the elite hitting catchers in baseball this year. He's kind of been a little bit of a rut this last week, but he has been really, other than the month of May, he has been probably one of their more consistent hitters. It just seems like he's been mashing baseballs, and the OPS is over 100 or over 800 now.
He might be our best hitter right now.
That is definitely up for debate. This next guy might be our best hitter. If you obviously saw the intro, but I think when we did this ranking in the beginning,
we debated on either having him or Bubba Thompson in their own category.
Yeah, which obviously Bubba Thompson is no longer with the club, so. Santiago Espinal has been great. I'm just going to say that because he has. And for what we thought we were going to get out of Santiago Espinal, he's exceeded those expectations. Highest batting average on the team right now.
I thought you might put him in elite.
No, I don't think I can put him up that high. He's been really good, but I wouldn't say he's in the category with Ellie and Tyler.
I think that his first half of the season kind of puts him down a little.
Puts him down, yeah. But I think he has the highest batting average. They said it during the broadcast the other night. He has the highest batting average since August 2nd or something.
He's been one of the hottest hitters over the past month.
Yeah. What do you? Jake says I keep touching my eye. Sorry, it was itching. Okay, so we're moving on. We got Jamer Candelario. Matt Fry doesn't like Jamer Candelario. Where do you want to put him, Jake? Or where do you want to put him, Matt? Sorry. We could get
Probably
some.
not good, not horrible.
Yeah, I would agree. He hasn't been really bad. He has 20
He
home
had
runs.
he got on fire in the middle of the season that
And
kind
he
of
kind of
saved
carried
himself.
them. He carried them
Yeah.
through June.
But I'll say it again. For what we're paying him, he's been terrible this year.
Yeah, and I mean we could debate about that, and I kind of I wouldn't disagree that there's been times where he has been absolutely abysmal at the plate. Like it just seems like you can throw absolutely whatever you want, and he is going to just roll it over.
He's
or
also
strike
been
out.
playing through a lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries. Yeah, the
obviously.
knee has been a big deal with him this year. So hopefully they get that buttoned up for next year, and we don't have to deal with that because we are paying him a lot of money. Will Benson, I'm sorry, but Will Benson's been really bad.
I think these next two could go.
Will
in the same
Benson has
category.
been really bad. You know, I mean, I know he's got 13 home runs or 14 home runs, but honestly, from what we got from Will Benson last year, it's definitely gone downhill for him, which sucks because I love Will Benson. I think he brings a lot of energy. He's a great guy, great clubhouse guy, for what it seems, and he just really hasn't gotten in a groove this year, which has been pretty unfortunate for him. And then the next guy, yeah, I mean, we probably should have put Luke Maile in his own category because me and a couple of other guys have been talking about Luke Maile, possibly being on that list of one of the worst Reds ever. I know that's tough to say because I like Luke Maile. Like I like the veteran presence of him, but he has just not been good. I think he retires after this year, truthfully. I'd like to see
I
Tucker
don't think there's
Barnhart
much.
up.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left for Luke Maile in the major league anyway. After
He's
this
kind
year.
of taking over that Kurt Casale role that we had a couple years ago, and I like Luke, great guy. I've met him, but he just hasn't. Offense. I mean, he has 8 RBIs. He has not been good offensively, and he's taking up a different role. Emilio Pagan's an interesting one because he's had moments where, he like the other night where he loads the bases and then strikes up the side and gets a clutch save. But
yeah, this one's kind of hard to.
I don't know. I don't know
rank
what
too.
your
He missed
feelings.
such a big part of the season.
I think I'm gonna base mine off of if you're gonna put Brent Suter in mid, I think you have to put Emilio Pagan in mid.
Yeah.
So that's where we're gonna put him. India, I think India's been solid. Or do you think higher?
I think he might be. I think he's great.
Okay. All right. I don't disagree with that because he's led off all year. He's the leader of this ball club. Does a lot of things other than just take his at bats. His at bats are always good. They're always professional, working pitches, getting on base. That's the name of his game. Kind of an underrated. I know he's like one of the bigger names the Reds have, but it seems like he just kind of gets overlooked when Ellie does things. When Hunter Green's doing his thing on the mound, we kind of forget about Jonathan India.
I like him. He's got his average is all right, but he might hit 20 bombs this year and in the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like India in the great.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. Friedel's been dealing with a lot of injuries. So he's kind of, a lot of these guys have not played full seasons. Steer has been out
Most
there
of
all
these
year.
guys have. Yeah, Steer, India, Ellie,
and Stevenson.
Stevenson.
But everyone else has kind of had stints where they, either weren't playing a lot because they were scuffling so bad or they've been banged up. TJ's been hit in the hand like 3 times. For me, I think he's still been solid though. I mean, he's driven in 38 runs, I believe, in his last 47 games, I think is what it was. They said he was on.
He's got like a new role this year, almost.
Yeah, he's been hitting cleanup.
Yeah,
he's kind of
very different
He's
look.
definitely switched over to that power lefty drive-in runs. They said he was on pace if he played 162 games to drive in 126 runs, which is crazy. If you would have told me that TJ Friedel had that capability, I would have told you you're nuts. Marte's been really bad. Sorry, he's talented. I like him. I think he can be good, but with the suspension, and then really as of the last 2 or 3 weeks, he has not played that much. He's been
seen
DHing
him in a while,
but
yeah.
Espinal's been so good to where there's no reason to play Marte right now. I think he's gonna.
He doesn't deserve to play. He never really got going, and he's shown what he could do last year. He's just not doing it.
I would agree, and we'll kind of move on from him. Fernando Cruz. I think in our first ranking we had Fernando Cruz in the elite, or the categories are a little different. I kind of modified him a little bit.
It was one of the top 2.
But Fernando Cruz, to me, has probably... I still think... I don't know. I mean, solid mid? What do you think?
I'm thinking mid.
Okay. All right, I'll agree with you. Just because he's had a lot of ups and downs. Excuse me. Rhett Lowder.
Again, that's kind of hard to rank him. I mean, based
He's
off
made
his
3
stats,
starts.
he's been elite, but you can't really. I don't think you can put him up there.
I want to put him in great.
Yeah,
Because he has been. He's been so good. He's looked, I mean, for only starting 1 game in AAA, he's looked way better. I mean, I know he's going to be good, but like he's looked way better than I thought he was going to, just because, he came up only starting 1 game in AAA. Sam Maul has been great. Sam Maul has been really good for them all year. He's been their go-to lefty. I know we have Justin Wilson and Brent Suter, but Sam Maul has been a stopper for them all year long. He's one of the better trades that they have made over the years. They gave up Joe Boyle, who really hasn't done much for Oakland at the trade deadline last year. So Sam Maul's been
he's one of
their
top picks for high leverage situations now.
Now, I know we kind of had a sneak peek of this before, but I'm going to put Tony Santillan in elite. Elite. He has been so good out of the bullpen, Matt Fry. I mean, I think that he is going to make a run at the closer job next year. I really think so. The stuff is off the charts. We actually talked about him in our last video. Tony Santillan's been lights out. It just seems like every time he's coming into the game, in jams and stuff like that, just coming in and just throwing bullets. So I really like the way he's pitched. He's pitched aggressive, not afraid of the moment, which is and a guy that doesn't have a ton of experience. So I really like the way that Tony Santillan's thrown the ball, and I think he's bought himself into a high leverage spot in the bullpen next year. Carson Spires is an interesting one because kind of got off to a really good start this year. He came in, I forget who he pitched against, but came in and threw 5 innings out of the pen in one of his first games back on the team this year and threw really well. I think he has been solid. And my only reason I'm going to put him above guys like Emilio Pagan and Cruz is, for me, the versatility of him.
Yeah, I was going to say he's kind of like Nick Martinez, where he's been starting a lot and relieving, and I think he's done pretty good this season.
He's kind of been that, like we say earlier, you can go ahead and put him in solid. Yeah, he's been that like Swiss Army knife. You can bring him out of the pen for 3 innings. You can open him for 2 innings, or you can just let him go the distance and start. Diaz has been one of the more disappointing Reds. He's definitely taken a step back this year. He hasn't been horrible, and he's blown 3 saves, I believe. I think he's been mid. I don't know what you think about that.
That's fair.
I think
I put him in mid.
Yeah, I think it's just been kind of a weird year for Diaz. He hasn't, he had so many stretches there. I think he almost had a month stretch where I think he only had 1 save, just because they were either blowing somebody out or they were, not winning.
Yeah. It's a lot different than last year too, because we had so many comeback wins and he had a lot more save opportunities. And this year they put a stat on the games where the Reds are like last in comeback wins this year.
Yeah, I think they only have 2. They have 2 walk-offs.
They don't keep the games close to the end anymore. He doesn't. That's why his stats aren't looking that good, and he hasn't really pitched that well in these situations either.
That's a good point. I would agree with that. Now Nick Martinez. I mean, is he elite? Is Nick Martinez been elite? Because we were actually talking about in a future episode, we're going to talk about guys they need to re-sign. And the number that I threw at Matt Fry for what they should give Nick Martinez, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it would suggest that he's elite. So I don't know what you think.
I think he's elite. Like
the versatility.
Has he pitched all year? I don't think add him to the LA, India, Stevenson, the guys who's pitched all year. He's
been, like we've said in previous episodes, he's been available all the time. He's pitched on short rest, bullpen. He's been a high leverage guy. He's been an 8th inning, sometimes even 9th inning guy. He's also been a long reliever to where he can come in and bridge the gap. And he's
a 7-inning starter.
Yeah, and he's a 7-inning starter. So he's had his ups and downs, but as of late, he has been absolutely fantastic. Hunter Green has also been elite. I know he's been hurt, but I mean, he was in the top 3 in Cy Young. We can both agree on that. I think we can kind of move on from that. He's, hopefully he gets back and gets to throw a couple more games. It'd be nice to watch him throw again. Buck Farmer, Buck's been solid. I think, I don't know.
I think a couple weeks ago he was leaning towards great, and then he's kind of stepped just a little bit back, but other than that, I think he's been pretty good all year.
I think the only reason I keep him in that solid category is just because early in the year he wasn't pitching in high leverage spots. He was pitching when we were up 6, down 6 kind of deal. So, it's kind of hard to judge a guy and say, well, he's an elite pitcher when he's pitching in games that, don't necessarily they're kind of over, I guess. But he's been good. And like I said, I keep referencing our future video, but it'd be interesting to see what the Reds do with Buck Farmer as he'll be a free agent this year. Justin Wilson has been not good, but he hasn't been horrible.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much I think that's a good category. I don't really know much to say about him.
Well, for me, it's just like he will come into games and sometimes look electric. Yeah. He'll be thrown in the upper 90s and he'll look really good, left-handed, arm to have in the bullpen. And then there's times where
What was it the other? Did he give up the walk-off bomb the other day?
Yeah, to Mark Vientos. Yeah. He got walked off on, and I think it was like the second pitch that he threw in the at-bat, which normally how it goes for Justin Wilson. So we're about finished here. Stuart Fairchild, I'm going to let you kind of handle this one because you know how I am. I'm very biased with Stuart Fairchild. I'm kind of
I think for the role that he is in, I think he's been solid.
Okay. I would agree.
They haven't really used him for his bat much. He's a great defender, and when he gets those left-handed platoon rule starts,
right. Yeah,
he done pretty good.
I would agree.
And he started hitting right-handed pitching towards the end.
Yeah,
a
little bit. Yeah, I would agree. And he's been a great defender, obviously. And
if he played every day, obviously he wouldn't be there. But
did you see that? I just lowered it in my chair.
I think they've used Fairchild pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's been solid. Abbott. Okay, I know where I want to put him.
I think he's been disappointing.
Okay, so what do you think?
Between mid and not good, not horrible.
I was thinking mid is where I was going to go. Yeah, because he's had some starts that have been really good. But I think for him, he just can't seem to get past that like fifth inning threshold very often. He'll throw a couple, games where it's like, okay, he threw 7 innings and had 8 strikeouts and looked really good. And then he'll have a game where he throws 3 2/3.
He looks a lot different than last year, where last year he pounded the zone.
The walks are way up. I don't know. It'll be interesting. They have one thing that I think, that doesn't get talked about enough, and I kind of want to, bring up something here is, we talk a lot about the position players on this team. When everybody's healthy, you talk about Ellie, CES, McLean, Friedel, all these young players they have. We were talking about the surplus of infielders and, just bats before the season. But I think one thing that doesn't get talked about is how many potential starting pitchers you have on this team. If you bring back Nick Martinez next year and, you have a healthy Graham Ashcraft and you have a healthy Hunter Green and Lodolo and Abbott and Williamson, you have 7 or 8 guys that could make the rotation out of spring training. And now you've added Rhett Lowder into the mix and Carson Spires.
And possibly Chase Burns. And possibly Chase Petty.
Chase Petty just got moved up to.
I think Connor.
I keep lowering my chair, dude.
I think Connor Phillips got pulled not too long ago. I think he got.
And that's the thing too is like if Connor Phillips turns it around,
he's looking good now.
They have 8 or 9 guys that could start for them next year. And now, are they all elite arms? No, but I think the majority of them could be. So that's why I feel like a guy like Graham Ashcraft, I'd like to see them move to the bullpen. But I think that's one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is the starting pitching depth that they have. And another guy we didn't mention was Julian Aguilar.
Oh, yeah.
Who's came up and thrown the ball pretty well. Actually, we should have put him on there. He's been pretty good too. They have a lot of arms, and they have a lot of decisions to make next year. I really would like them to bring Martinez back. I think that is going to be somebody that they're going to want to have. He's a postseason, like we said, Swiss Army knife. He could easily be like a Tim Lincecum, where Tim Lincecum would come out of the bullpen. He started during the year for the Giants in 2012. Had some rough starts and then came out of the bullpen in the postseason and absolutely stole the series from the Reds. So he could be a guy like that. He could be, that Bumgarner type, maybe not that elite, but he can do so many things, other than just start baseball games.
Like if obviously our game 1 playoff, if we make it, would be Hunter Green. If he starts struggling, you can throw Nick Martinez right in there.
Yeah. And so I think, we'll talk about that in a future video, like I keep referencing. the dollar amount that I think that they need to give Nick Martinez is a little high, but I think it's fully worth it. So yeah, that's our ranking. If you have anything that you would change or any opinions on that, leave us a comment down below. Another thing, it just popped into my mind. As we're recording this video, we just posted the Nasty Boys reel on Instagram, so go check that out. It'll be up on YouTube as well, Matt Fry. Yeah. Correct, and TikTok. So go check that out. Leave us a like. Remember, we're doing the giveaway at 250 followers on Instagram. So make sure you are following for that. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there, but I was just sitting here thinking about it. So the next thing that we're going to get into, which I'm very excited to talk about because Jake has a really cool thing that he's going to show us here in a moment. Rhett Lowder has been very good. And that's just to put it point blank. He's been very good. He's a guy that I didn't even know if we were really going to see. I think one of our previous episodes, we even talked about whether or not we were going to see Rhett Lowder this year. I really didn't
think we were going to see him.
Yeah, I think we both kind of thought that it wasn't going to happen. But he makes a couple injuries happen, and he comes up and he makes one AAA start, comes up and just absolutely does not skip a beat. I mean, he was so good. His first start was the 4 walks, which was a little bit abnormal for him. He's more of a control guy, but then his last start, 5 innings, no runs, no walks, not striking out a ton, but I don't really care about that for him. Yeah. For him, it's just getting outs. He's got a .59 ERA over how many innings? I don't have it on here. I think it's like 12 innings. Does it say on there?
15 1/3.
15 1/3. Okay. So 15 1/3 innings. He's been so good. So I kind of want to break him down because there's a guy that I brought up to Jake and Matt before we were shooting this that I think reminds me a lot of, or Rhett Lowder reminds me a lot of another guy that's pitching currently in the National League, and he's obviously an elite starting pitcher. The guy I'm talking about is Logan Webb. I think when I watch Rhett Lowder pitch, we're going to pull up an overlay here in a moment for you. You're looking at it right now. I think when I see a lot of Logan Webb when I watch Rhett Lowder pitch. I don't know what you think. I don't know how much you've kind of watched him throw.
I've never really thought about that, but looking at the video, obviously it looks similar.
So, and I'm talking about overall makeup. So obviously you're seeing the delivery is pretty similar. The arm path, can we pause that arm path? Let's take a look at that. If we can keep going. Yeah, like a release point. Yeah, so they're essentially releasing. Now, they're positioned on the mound a little bit differently. I think it looks like Rhett is more to the... No, Logan Webb, it looks like, is a little more to the left. But, the arm path is very similar. The movement on their pitches is very similar. They both have pretty much the same repertoire. The fastball changeup slider, the fastball changeup being the main combo. I mean, you can see the arm action is very similar. They kind of both have a rhythm. You don't really see it in this video, but they both kind of have like that rhythm, like rock back. There's just a lot of things that remind me of Logan Webb when I watch Rhett Lowder pitch, and Logan Webb is a very good pitcher in this league, been an all-star a couple times. So, I think the future is definitely really bright for Rhett. And I just, once we did the overlay, I was like, oh yeah, right away. I just see the Logan Webb in it.
I just noticed the Ellie in this video too.
Oh, does Ellie? Oh, it's Ellie hitting. Oh, yeah. Isn't that weird? Because you got him on the same mound. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, perfect. Leg kick, similar. The extension, the release point, and then honestly, the finish as well is pretty similar. And they both throw a sinking fastball, around the same velocity, kind of that 92 to 94. So,
I mean, I'll take a Logan Webb on the Reds.
Oh, every fifth day, I'm absolutely taking Logan Webb. So, we're not saying that he is Logan Webb, but I just see a lot of similarities out of them. So I want to ask you, Matt Fry, let's say that Rhett doesn't have a great spring training. Okay. Let's say, my point is, has he earned the right? I know it's been 3 starts and that's such a short time frame, but has he earned that right to kind of say, if he has a shaky spring, to say he still makes the rotation?
If he finishes out this year strong and then
yeah.
I would say he has the right to make the rotation over probably Williamson and any other questionable, maybe Abbott. Yeah. I mean, he's looked so good this year over his past like 6 or 7 starts too, going down to triple or double A even.
With Chattanooga, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's a lock.
Okay. And I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on that because I know it's been talked about a little bit. They were kind of saying, and I still think, we say these things, but I still think that he is going to have to compete for the job. They're going to say that. They're going to say Rhett Lowder's competing for the starting job. Nothing's guaranteed, blah, 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 all that, media mess. So they're going to not just give it away to us that he's going to make the roster opening day.
And he's going to struggle, obviously, too. And maybe the first couple weeks, if he's still struggling, then go ahead and sit him down.
Yeah.
But I think coming out, you have to put him on the opening day roster.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot easier with pitchers, too, because you can always, you're not going to bring a starting pitcher up and then not pitch him every 5th day. But you might bring a position player up and he may not play a ton. So it's a lot easier with pitchers. You can send them down. They're still going to get their start. Bring them up. They're going to, they're going to get that start. It's not like you're just going to shelf a starting pitcher on the roster for no reason. So it's a lot easier to keep them up here than it would be a position player that already has, somebody like Steer playing there every day. He's, I really like Rhett Lowder a lot. Obviously from Wake Forest, he was, one of the better pitchers in college baseball. And I think it's next weekend. He's supposed to line up with Paul Skeens. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but that's what I've been hearing from people that's going to happen. It'd be a great way for the Reds to fill the ballpark late in the year.
Yeah, we'll probably go if that happens.
I think we're planning on doing a little bit of a vlog for that video, so you'll see that on YouTube as well as probably some clips on Instagram from that. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we've been working on. I actually called Matt Fry last night. We were talking about a future video we're going to do, which is going to be basically breaking down what we feel like what if we were Nick Krall, how would we go about the offseason? So we're both going to come up with a plan, and that'll be a future video. So that'll be kind of fun to do. I don't know why my computer is being weird. I'm not looking at my script. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of in the future. Reds Fest is going to be a big deal coming up in December. We got a little bit of time till we get to that. Our last little segment we're going to talk about, we're going to do a little around the league rundown. I'm going to start us off with the National League. So some National League news for you. Ohtani hits his 47th home run and steals base number 48. He inches closer to the 50-50 season, which has never been done in the history of baseball. Lindor breaks up a 9th inning no-hitter, and the Mets answer with 6 runs. The final score of that game ended up being 6-2. The Mets hold on to their wild card spot. They are a game up on the Braves, who are currently, like I said, one game back of the wild card. The Mets, Diamondbacks, and Padres all hold that wild card spot. It's kind of locked up with those 4 teams. After that, it kind of drops off. The Braves lose a key arm in their rotation. Ronaldo Lopez hits the IL. Huge loss for them. Been a lot of injuries for them over the course of the year. He goes to the IL with shoulder inflammation. We'll have to stay updated to see how long he is out, because that is going to be a big loss for the Atlanta Braves. Last thing here, Trey Turner moves into 3rd all-time in multi-homer games for a shortstop. He passes Hanley Ramirez and moves to 3rd all-time. Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, leads with 24. I believe Trey Turner had his 17th multi-homer game by a shortstop. Now, Matt Fry is going to run you through the American League.
Yeah, this is American League and National League, kind of with the Rays and Philly scuffle. That was one of the bigger news, was it last night? It had to do with Bryce Harper and Castellanos, of course. Harper, he's a big hothead, but had to do with him basically stealing signs, and the pitcher got mad that they were hitting him.
If you haven't checked out John Boy's breakdown, we actually just watched that. It's a pretty good one. Go check that one out.
And then Kumar Rocker gets his debut today. One of the more exciting prospects, I guess. I mean, he's been out of college for a while. Got drafted a couple times, but he finally gets his major league debut. Aaron Judge got his 50th home run. He's on pace for 56. And Soto also hit his 39th. Is that the 2-3 in the lineup? Or 3-4? They combined for 89 home runs this year, which is kind of crazy.
I wonder where that ranks at all time. I don't know. We probably don't have that information for you right now, but yeah.
Emmanuel Clase is still shoving, and could make a case for Cy Young as a closer.
Do you want to make that just like a thing we talk about every time? Just like, I like how you have Emmanuel Clase, Cy Young, Chase, or I mean, yeah, like you just want to say like Emmanuel Clase shoves. Like, is that going to be one of our things we bring up every time?
I guess so. And the Blue Jays, Bowden Francis takes his no-hitter into the ninth for the second time in 3 weeks, but got ended by a Francisco Lindor game-tying home run.
Like we said earlier. So good stuff, Matt Fry. That was our little bit of a National League and American League MLB rundown for you. That is going to conclude a little bit of a longer episode for you today. Coming up in these next couple of episodes, we're going to talk a little bit more off-season, probably not going to, like we did for this video, it's going to be kind of a quick recap at the beginning of episodes. We're going to talk more MLB news, going to talk some postseason, so stay tuned for all of that. So I think that is where we're going to end today's episode. You can follow us on Instagram. Be following us before we get to 250 because we're going to be doing the giveaway. You can follow us on TikTok as well. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. Go check out the Nasty Boys reel that we just dropped that Matt Fry made for us. We will see you next time.
Actually, Jake made that one.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Jake actually made that one for us. My apologies, Jake. So go check that out. We will see you next time.